it's Elisa here. So today, actually in a few minutes, I'm gonna hop on a call with one of my previous clients, and his name is Christian, and I wanted to ask him for this interview because I know you have a lot of valuable stuff to learn from him, and just to hear his story, and he will inspire you, and I know many of you will definitely resonate with him. So yeah, let's hop on a call and hear more about his story. So maybe you can just start by introducing yourself and who you are and what do you do.
My name's Chris, and the last major project I was working on was taking acting classes. So I've had the training for a couple of years.
And maybe we can go a little bit back and where this all started for you, or how did you even end up having eating problems or an eating disorder?
In the past, I was a runner, so I used to like to run a lot, and I got my weight down to 200 pounds, which at that weight, I could have stayed there comfortably and eaten reasonably, and I wouldn't have any of these symptoms. What happened was I kept on restricting and restricting till I got down to 178 pounds, and at that weight, trying to keep it down that low is when all the night eating started.
Mm-hmm. And how long time ago was that?
2012.
Okay, so over 7 years, 8 years,
Yep,
something.
just about.
Did you start to seek for recovery, and what did you find, and how did you start to get better?
I first started it last year, but I didn't I was too afraid of it. So when they were mentioning like gaining weight, even if they told me back then it was just going to be something temporary, I was so afraid of it, I didn't listen to them. So I mean, they gave you like what to eat while I was there, but as soon as I got home, I did what I wanted to.
So was it some kind of like recovery treatment center, or?
Yeah, it was.
What did you do there? Like you ate by the meal plan, or?
Yeah, so I'd wake up at 7 o'clock, and I would drive to Braintree, is where the center was, and you'd have breakfast, a snack, and lunch there. You'd have TED Talks that you'd watch, a session with the therapist and a session with the dietitian, and that would go on till about 2 o'clock.
Yeah, and how long were you there, or?
Well, I chose to stay there for 2 months. I should have been there for a whole year, but I only stayed there for 2 months.
Why only 2 months?
Because that was all I could take.
Did you already knew that this doesn't work?
I just wasn't gonna commit to weight gain at the time.
So what was your mindset back then?
I wanted to recover, but stay the same weight.
Like, I'm willing to recover and get better, but I'm not willing to actually do whatever it takes, and I'm gonna do it my way or the disordered way because of the fears.
Yep, exactly.
So what happened then?
Like an idiot, I went back to doing exactly what I was doing before. So.
And how long before you were like, oh my God, it's just a same cycle?
It took like 6 months to figure it out.
So what did you do, or what was the shift that happened? What did you discover?
I was like, I would rather just, face whatever it takes to recover and go forward in the long run instead of, finding any type of short-term success, if I could, doing it that way and stay like in a cycle forever.
So what would you say, like what were the key things you have changed so far that helped you to make this massive progress, like physically and also mentally?
Physically, I'm still working on it, but mentally, I just said that I would rather deal with something in the short term, even if it's a year or a year and a half, than have to keep on following the same cycle for the rest of my life.
And regards to your biggest fear of like weight gain, and I want recovery, but I can't accept the weight gain. So what shifted there?
It was happening anyways. So what I was doing before was more likely to make it worse in the future than recovery.
But also, like, one of the keys for your recovery and this shift was because of your own research and how you really, before, like when you were in treatment, they never explained to you about the metabolism and how recovery exactly happens. So to understand that it's only like temporary and over time it's gonna balance out. So this was the major key for why you trusted it, right?
Right. So like the science behind it was never explained to me. So at a time when you're most vulnerable anybody's comment is going to make you want to immediately go back to what you know and what's comfortable. Nobody took the time to explain to me that this was just temporary. It wasn't going to last forever. They were just focused on weight gain, weight gain, weight gain, but they never gave context for it.
So, for example, back then you had all of this fear of weight gain, and as you said, they never explained to you the context, like how the weight gain happens and everything, the scientific side. So, what do you wish you would have known about this scientific side of recovery?
I wish I would have known that it was just temporary, that as your body readapts to regular eating, weight gain is just a normal part of the process, that it wouldn't last forever. If I had known that back then, I would have just stayed in the recovery center for a lot longer. Even if they didn't explain it to me, the strategies that they're using in there would have worked out in the long run.
Like, I never went through these recovery treatment centers and anything, and I really don't know how exactly it is there. And I'm sure like there are a bunch of them that are different, but just, sorry, my cat is here. But yeah, like to me, it's so weird that people are not explained this like scientific side, and this is why I wrote my book, and because this is what helped me to make sense that actually I'm not just crazy, I'm not like out of control, and since this information almost is kind of deprived from normal people, it's kind of people who are taking the like responsibility over their recovery and actually seeking the information that you did, like they will get to the full recovery because they are so confident in what they're doing because they know it.
Right. Because if I didn't do the research myself, I would never be able to have the knowledge to share with someone. Like I was telling you what my uncle told me the other day. And he was like, after I explained it to him, he was just like, if it's just temporary, then it's no big deal. If it's nothing like anything hasn't been damaged, like your thyroid or something, which is the first thing that a medical professional might think in the short term, is that something is wrong with your thyroid.
And they wouldn't even take it into account that you have been through an eating disorder, but it's kind of blamed on the symptom.
Yeah, which would only make sense like once you correct that eating pattern, everything else will fall into place. So because I was able to do the research and I was able to explain to him, he said that if it's only temporary, then it's no big deal.
And also like regards to like people close to you and your family. So like I know you had a lot of like struggle with that as well, and for everybody, like this is one of the hardest thing about recovery, because people around you, they don't have eating disorders and they're not forced to figure it out. So how did you deal with it at first? Was it hard? And how did you make the shift?
The response was the same response I would have had.
Yeah, it's so true.
So it would have fed into what was keeping me stuck instead of finding an answer.
Yeah. So do you mean almost like you were able to see it from their perspective? And so it's kind of like, yeah, I know this is how I thought maybe like a few years ago.
Yeah, especially last night I was thinking that like I can't even get mad because that's exactly what I was thinking before.
It releases the, the negativity you feel, almost like it's something I'm doing wrong. It's like just like I completely understand where you are, and actually it's not about me at all. It's about like just you don't understanding like what I'm going through, and because you haven't had the experience, so you stop taking it personally.
Exactly. I mean, there might be some frustration here and there, but for the most part, since I know better, like the decision is final to keep going with the recovery process.
So what would you say, like what is your mindset now in recovery, or where you are currently in your recovery?
Well, the genuine recovery for me only started 3 months ago, like really focusing on like forgetting about weight loss and focusing on reestablishing, normal eating and sleeping patterns. So that decision is the major change.
So would you say if you would recommend for others, like the two things are most important, like regular eating patterns and also like to stop focusing on the weight gain and like let it go and trust your body? Or is there something else you would say is very important?
Sleep. I think arguably sleep is more important than the eating.
Why do you think that?
I mean, it has a major impact on metabolism, mental health.
Yeah, I have heard that about sleep as well, actually. And I think like this is one of the most like overlooked thing in recovery. Like people focus on like eating and kind of like resting regards to resting from exercise, but sleep is kind of like overlooked.
Yeah, exactly.
So is there anything else you would say, going back to, like 1 year ago, how you were back then, like giving advice to that guy?
I would have told myself last year, just relax and forget about all that stuff for now.
You mean about the worries about the weight gain, or?
Yeah, exactly. Don't focus on. It's like I was doing two things at the same time. I was focusing on recovery and working out at the same time. I was focusing on two of the opposite things at the same time.
Like I'm recovering, like eating by the, I don't know, meal plan, or but at the same time, like I have to stay fit. At the same time, I
Yeah,
have to like manage my weight.
yeah, exactly. So it made sense that I got nowhere in either pursuit.
I also want to ask you about like your mindset now regards to exercise. Like I know you are not currently like actively exercising, but just like
No,
everything you have learned so far. So what would be like a healthy way to exercise? What would you say?
in the future, when I exercise, it'll be health focused, not vanity focused. Because I found a reasonable balance before. It was only when I got caught up in the vanity of it that all this stuff started.
And I have heard, regards to exercise from many people that, like maybe even at first, like they really go to exercise because they enjoy it, or like even like going to the gym and stuff, and because they just, I don't know, like want to be strong, or even like having an activity. But very often it's almost like you can't have, I don't know, like go to the gym and not without the, like taking protein powders and having to have
Yeah,
certain
exactly.
physique. So it's almost like nowadays it comes with a package, and this is like where it gets messed up, because before it wouldn't be like perfectly normal, healthy behavior or mindset. But then you get more and more extreme, and this is how it gets worse.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I wouldn't be able to recognize it until I got to this point. It's only now looking in retrospect that I see, how much of a problem it was.
Yes, this is so true, because I often see that people who are, they don't have this like eating disorders, or they're not like completely out of control binging, and like something is very wrong. Like people don't want to change if they don't see so much pain.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can almost take it as a gift for the rest of your life, because like if you make now this big shift, then not only with recovery, but for the rest of your life, I think like you have so many benefits out of it, like regards to your mindset and trusting your body, and taking care of yourself and everything.
Yeah, what I keep repeating to myself is temporary discomfort, long-term solution.
Is there anything else like you would like to tell others who are, I don't know, resonating with your story, but they are like having this fear and
Well, the fear is only natural, especially when you're around other people, around people that can, make it stronger. Even for myself, it was hard at first. Like I had to do a lot of reading and research and everything, because eventually you have to feel like you have to prepare yourself to tell people what's going on.
so to overcome the fear, would you say is that you're gonna feel the fear anyway, but you have to keep on going forward and kind of support yourself with like doing your own research at the same time, so you have something like almost like logical you can't argue with to back you up.
Yeah, I mean, I explained it to a few people at work, and then when I explained it to them, they were like, "Makes sense." Which I think the interpretation at first is that you're being lazy and gluttonous, but when you explain like the entire context, and I say, "No, when I was younger, I was doing all this crazy shit, and it caught up to me. Now, I have to go through this process so that everything normalizes again." Then the interpretation changes, and everybody's just like, it makes sense. That as your metabolism readapts to regular eating and sleeping, your body has to go through certain changes to get to that point.
And this is the information like so many people don't know about, and like we have all the information in a world to like how to diet and how to restrict, and we can all lose weight, like we can all lose weight, right? But it's like not enough information how it's gonna mess you up, your physical health, mental health, and actually like how to recover from it and everything. And
If it wasn't for other people on YouTube as well that were explaining to it, I wouldn't have understood it either. It's only when I've gone like on YouTube and other people have shared experiences for the same thing whether from the recovery side and the sports side that said they've been through the same thing. That's when I was like, I'm not alone, and it started to make sense.
And sometimes like it's so good because like you can read all the scientific informations, or I don't know, like what the doctors say or whatever, and they definitely have good information and advice as well. But sometimes like you just want to hear people's stories and like how did they overcome it. And if I would, I don't know, need to overcome something, like I would Google like how did I overcome blah blah blah, and I want to hear stories of people who have done it, and not just somebody who has read from somewhere, you know.
Yeah, because it makes you more relatable. It's kind of like if you go to like a therapist and they say like they have terms like you're resistant or you have an urge. It's almost like they take away the person and they add like some type of category to put you under.
What do you mean about like you are resistant or
Resistant, like you don't want to do what they tell you to do. Like you're not following the meal plan.
yeah, but actually this is not your resistance, it's just like you feel like it doesn't work.
It's not just that, it's just you're afraid.
Yeah, afraid.
You don't have to like, it's not like you have to put the major scientific term on it. You're just afraid.
Like you can tell somebody like you just need to, let go of restriction, let your body gain weight. But if you don't provide any context, it's like, no, like
Why? Yeah. Why on earth would I do that?
yeah, like yeah, because like it doesn't make sense, when you look at it from dieter's perspective. Like it's totally nuts. It's like so many questions rise up.
And it's so strange to me how many doctors don't understand it. There were other people that were saying, like, I can read sometimes on YouTube comments where they went to a physician and the physician had no answers. But I know that where I was, the nurse practitioner most likely would have understood what was going on. I think if she's in there long enough, she would have been familiar with what was going on.
Yeah, and also I want to ask you about your like acting and everything, and how is your mindset now? Because I know maybe there are more people in recovery and who are actors, and I think like half a year ago or so I had one woman also, we did an interview, and she's an actor, and her normal body size has always been like bigger and everything, and it was like so hard for her, like getting a career like in acting. I guess like you have this kind of stereotype that you also have to like look a certain way to get roles and everything. So like what do you say to that, and what is your mindset now?
I actually shared this story with my acting teacher Monday night, and just what I've been going through. And they said that you might think that if you go for an audition for something that the person that's taller, fitter, better looking get the role, but it's not always true. That's not necessarily true. That you should focus on the craft of it, which I think is what you were saying to me at the beginning. Like focus on the craft of it and everything, and that's what they'll appreciate in the long run. To not always be focused. They said that it's natural for actors to feel that way. They may not have like an eating disorder or something, but it's natural for them to feel like somebody has an advantage if they're better looking or something. But they said it's not always the case.
And even you told me examples of actors, like male actors who don't have a role based on like how they look, but like how great actors they are.
Or it could be being known for like being funny, like Jim Carrey. Like if you think of him, he's known for being funny or something.
And also like we have talked about like how like it's not sustainable to have your acting career be based on how you look, because this is something that will change, and maybe I don't know, like 10 years from now, 20 years from now, like if your I don't know career is based on how you look, it's not going to be sustainable.
Or you can be replaced. They just get bored of it.
So what is the like more sustainable way to base your acting career on?
Just to focus on the craft of it. Like I still like watching Denzel Washington movies. He's been doing it for a long time, but he's still really popular because of how good he is at it.
And this is something you can, get even better at in the long run. Something you can always improve. Something that nobody can take away from you. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like by the years you can only get better. Yeah. So, like I know you have done a lot of research on recovery. So, how can you make recovery easier for other people to understand it as well?
I think that if like the main thing is to get them to get people to understand that it's temporary. that it's not going to last forever.
And also like just knowing, for example, that let's say a typical recovery takes year or 2 years, or I don't know, something like that, then it's not going to be the same way hard that it's like maybe in the first half a year, but maybe in a year you're already kind of like you can start to live your normal life and everything, but let the recovery happen in the background. So even like if it takes like 2 years or whatever, it's not going to be as hard as maybe in the first few months.
Right. I think the first few months are the hardest.
How did you manage this first few months?
I started like meditating, changing the way I think, journaling, and just realizing that in the long run, this is what was going to be beneficial. That if I kept on doing what I was doing, it was just going to be cyclical.
And not gonna go like back and forth all the time,
Hmm.
because you realize that like whatever you're going through right now, like no matter how uncomfortable it is or hard it is, like like you have to go through it sooner or later. If you want
Hmm.
to go back, you're gonna have to go through it, I don't know, a year from now, but you just wasted another year.
Right. Like I had to learn the hard way that I'm not going to get anywhere trying to do what I was doing before.
I think like with eating disorders, like everything, everybody is learning it in a hard way. They're like forced to make a change. Otherwise, like nobody would want to, be pushed so out of their comfort zone.
Yeah, I didn't think that it would be this challenging. I thought recovery was like the honeymoon phase of a marriage. Like it was just going to be something simple for a couple months and then I was going to be, happily go on for the rest of my life. But it wasn't like that at all.
Yeah. Did you almost thought like, oh, now I'm recovering and it's gonna get better
Hmm.
and I'm gonna feel better and it's finally
Yeah,
over?
that's exactly what I thought it was going to be like. And then when I saw like the hunger was changing, all of a sudden, I had these crazy cravings for things at different times in the night and I was just like, no, this wasn't happy at all. Was the discomfort like I'm used to running like 7, 8 miles and walking up a flight of stairs makes me tired. It's like day and night difference. I understand it now, but and also it's just like what makes it hurt the most is the reputation and identity that you had before you went into recovery. That's probably what makes it the most painful because the weight itself doesn't really mean anything. It's the meaning that I attach to it.
What was the meaning you attached to the weight?
I mean, it's just you look back and you think like how many people were congratulating you, even though you had a disordered lifestyle, people were congratulating you, say that you inspired them. Yeah, it's just when you go back and think of that, that's what makes it hard to go through with recovery. It's that fixed identity that I had was hard to let go of.
And this is like so messed up, right? Because like people
Hmm.
are, so quick to like congratulate somebody who has, I don't know, lost weight or done this like physical change, or like through dieting and exercise and restriction basically. And nobody actually cares how a person actually feels, and even what they had to do to get to that point. And it's like it's so
Right.
messed up.
And that's what makes it like so hard to understand is like it's the first time that I ever thought like because I guess I was a little brainwashed too, but that the context of weight gain and recovery is actually healthy. They like organs can be repaired and everything. That for the short term, that's what it's doing just to repair certain things that may have been damaged. And I never thought of it that way.
Because like when it comes to your body, like your body never does anything to, I don't know, like fight against itself. Like it's always looking out for your best interest. If we wouldn't have this brainwashed idea about like, oh, weight gain is bad, actually nobody would care.
Last year, I would have never thought that this would make any kind of sense either. Because only like listening to other people's experiences on YouTube and everything that made it make a little more sense to me. So yeah, I have faith that, even if it takes a couple of years, everything will rebalance itself the way it's supposed to.
And also like just to understand that, people like so many people, they get frustrated with like wanting to know like how long it takes, but it's like it's such a natural process. And I think we, also have this idea of like, oh, like 30 days and you're gonna see this result. And but like in natural processes, like this doesn't work. But like it's a guarantee that it's getting better. But it's just like how long it takes, like it is just up to your body, and also like how invested you are in your recovery.
it's kind of like it's just the time is just relative. Kind of like a little kid in a car that's traveling somewhere. When he keeps on asking, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" The more you ask yourself those kind of questions, the longer it's going to take for you. The longer it's going to feel.
Yeah, and it doesn't make the journey any shorter.
Or easier.
Or easier, yeah, because it's just adding this, stress. And it's almost like the more you wait something so impatiently, the longer it seems.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess this is other part of like just letting go of the perceptions and ideas of how it should happen, like how my wait exactly, like where it's gonna happen, and how long it's gonna take, and everything, and like really trust this process, trust your body, trust yourself, trust this science as well.
Yeah, I think like I might see someone, maybe a dietitian, just to have that extra support. But in general, I feel like I have all the information I need to make this recovery successful.
Chris, thank you so much for doing this interview with me, and yeah, people have your email address in the description, and yeah, I wish you the best for your recovery and your recovery success and everything.
Yeah, thank you.
So I really hope you enjoyed this interview with Christian and you got a lot of information and valuable content out of it, and I hope you are inspired now more to keep on going in your recovery. So if you have any comments or questions, you can leave them down below in a video, but other than that, I will see you in my next video. Bye.